What can a novel about 19th century logging teach us about business in the 21st century? Well, that's what we're going to be exploring today on the FBS podcast, where we help mid-career professionals like you grow and learn.
It's a fascinating question. To answer it, we're turning to The Riverman, a novel by Stewart Edward White.
Oh yeah, The Riverman, I remember this one. Published in 1908, right?
That's right. It gives us a peek into the world of Michigan lumber back in the 1870s.
The lumber boom.
Exactly, a time when the industry was just exploding. And getting those massive logs from the forest to the sawmills, well, that was a huge challenge. And that's where our main character, Jack Ord, comes in.
So he's like the hero of the story.
You could say that. He is a skilled, experienced woodsman.
So he knows the business, the forests, all that.
Yeah, he knows how to handle a crew, but he's also got this entrepreneurial spirit.
He's not content with just working for someone else.
Nope, he wants to build something of his own.
Classic entrepreneur. So what does he do?
Well, that ambition leads him to partner with a businessman, a guy named Joseph Newmark.
The money man.
Right, together they form a company to streamline the process of driving logs downriver. They basically offer a more efficient and, more importantly, cost-effective service to all the lumber businesses operating in the region.
Smart. Makes sense. So they saw a problem and came up with a solution.
Exactly. It highlights a key principle we see time and time again in successful businesses.
Yeah, that is.
The power of complementary skills.
Oh, I like that. So like a good team.
Yeah, Ord brings that hands-on expertise, the knowledge of the terrain, the logistics of moving timber.
And Newmark.
He brings the financial know-how, the strategic vision to scale the operation.
It's like the classic combination, right? You've got the builder, and then you've got the strategist.
That's it. They see an opportunity to improve an existing system, make it more efficient, beneficial for everyone involved.
A great example of identifying a need in the market and creating a solution that adds value.
Right?
They're not reinventing the wheel. They're optimizing it.
Exactly. And in doing so, they demonstrate the importance of recognizing and capitalizing on inefficiencies.
I feel like this is one of those principles that never gets old.
Absolutely. It's as relevant today as it was back in the 19th century. Whether you're in forestry, tech, any other industry, that ability to spot areas for improvement and develop solutions, that's a valuable asset.
Couldn't agree more. But we all know, even with a great idea, a solid partnership, things don't always go smoothly, right?
You got it.
And in Orta's case, he faces a challenge that I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to.
Let me guess. Sales.
You nailed it.
Yes. Here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Or he's comfortable in the woods, leading a crew, tackling those physical challenges.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Right. But the idea of selling his services, of persuading others to trust him and his company, well, that's a whole new ballgame.
Makes sense. Not everyone's a natural salesperson.
Exactly. He's initially hesitant, almost uncomfortable with the whole sales process.
Yeah, it underscores the point that even the most skilled and capable individuals, sometimes they need to develop their skills in other areas.
That's it. You have to be willing to learn and grow in other areas to succeed.
And a lot of times, those areas that we're initially uncomfortable with, well, those become our greatest strength, if we just embrace the challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does Ord handle this sales challenge?
Well, he does eventually rise to the occasion.
Not for him.
Yeah. He secures contracts with most of the sawmills along the river, leverages his reputation, for honesty and hard work.
That personal touch still matters, even back then.
Absolutely. Reputation, relationships, those were crucial in business then, and they still are now, especially in an industry like forestry where trust and long-term partnerships, those are essential.
So Orta's ability to build and maintain those relationships really paid off.
Big time. It proves to be invaluable as the story unfolds.
But of course, no business story is complete without a little conflict.
You said it.
And in The Riverman, that conflict comes in the form of
a rival lumberman, a guy named Carl Heinzman.
Oh, I've heard of him. A real piece of work, right?
Yeah, he represents that challenge of dealing with difficult personalities in the business world.
Oh, we all know a Heinzman.
He's driven by greed and a fear of losing his position in the industry. He demands special treatment from Ord and Newmark, refuses to adapt to their more efficient system.
Sounds like a classic case of stuck in his ways.
And it gets worse. He even resorts to sabotage, trying to undermine their whole venture.
Wow, that's pretty low. So how do they deal with this guy?
That's a story for the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, guess we'll have to wait and see how Orty handles this one.
Welcome back to the FBS podcast. Before the break, we left Jack Ord in a bit of a tough spot, facing betrayal from his business partner, and then you've got the sabotage from his competitor.
It's a recipe for disaster. A situation that I think could really paralyze anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Even the most, seasoned professional.
But Ord, despite all these setbacks, he shows a remarkable, what's the word, resilience and a keen understanding of playing the long game.
That's right. He doesn't just panic or make rash decisions. Instead, he taps into one of the most, I think, valuable assets any business person can have:
And what's that?
foresight.
Interesting. Okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, it turns out while he's building up his logging business, he was also investing in some timberland in California.
California, wow, that's pretty far from Michigan.
It is, and at the time, it seemed pretty unrelated to his current venture.
So it was a long-term investment,
Yep.
kind of a bet on the future of the timber industry.
Exactly. And you know what? This foresight, it proves to be absolutely crucial in his current situation.
Really? How so?
Well, that California timberland, it gives him leverage, a safety net, basically. It allows him to negotiate from a position of strength, even when it seems like everything else is falling apart around him.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's a reminder to diversify, not just skills, but investments too.
Definitely. Ord's willingness to think ahead, to plan for the future, that's what saves him from ruin.
And it speaks to the importance of strategic thinking too, right?
Yeah.
Being able to see those industry trends and then position yourself for the long term.
Absolutely. He recognized the potential of the California timber market,
Yeah.
even when everyone else was just focused on, the immediate boom in Michigan.
So with this leverage, this California timberland, Ord manages to outmaneuver Newmark, buys him out of the company.
That's right. He takes full control. It's a moment of triumph for him, but it also, I think, reveals a lot about his character.
What do you mean?
Well, he could have easily sought revenge, right? Exposed Newmark, destroyed his reputation.
I mean, I can understand why he would want to do that.
Oh, for sure. But he chooses a different path.
The high road, huh?
Exactly. One that speaks volumes about his integrity and his understanding of the bigger picture.
He realizes that holding on to that anger, that resentment, it wouldn't help him.
Exactly. It would only hinder his progress. There's a great line in the book. Let me see if I can remember it. It isn't from any fool notion of forgiveness, but I'm not going to burden my future life with you.
Wow, that's powerful. So he chooses to let go of the past and focus on building a positive future for himself and for his family.
Right. It's a powerful lesson, I think, in emotional intelligence. That importance of letting go of things you just can't control.
Sometimes the best revenge is just living well and succeeding on your own terms.
Well said. And in that moment, Orde, he embodies the true spirit of the entrepreneur. He's resilient, resourceful, and ultimately he's driven by a desire to build something meaningful, something that will last.
His story is a great reminder that success in business, in life really, it's not a straight line. It's about navigating challenges, learning from setbacks, and staying true to yourself.
And recognizing that the decisions we make today, they have ripple effects. They impact not just us, but those around us.
Orde's success wasn't just about making money.
No, it was about building a good life. For himself, for his family, one based on integrity, hard work, and a commitment to the future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Riverman, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Oh, there's so many. But I think one of the biggest is Orde's story offers a wealth of insights that are just as relevant in the 21st century.
It's amazing how some things never change.
Right, like take the emphasis on long-term thinking and building those genuine relationships.
Those principles, they're just as vital today as they were back then, even with all the changes, in the business world.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the short-term gains, the quick wins, the instant gratification. But the Riverman, it reminds us that true success, that takes time.
It takes careful planning, strategic decisions, and a willingness to invest in those relationships that will support us along the way.
Right, because there will be ups and downs. It's about building a strong foundation for success, one that can weather the storms.
That's a great analogy.
And honestly, that message, it resonates so deeply with the mission of the FBS podcast.
Which is to help people build fulfilling and impactful careers.
Exactly. Ord's story is proof that those principles, they really work. And while the tools and technology of business might change, the fundamentals of human interaction, integrity, and that commitment to building something valuable, those never go out of style.
No matter what industry you're in.
Exactly. So as we, kind of start to wrap up this deep dive, I encourage everyone listening to really reflect on your own journey. Where are you headed? What are your goals?
And what can you start doing today to build a career that's both successful and meaningful?
That's what it's all about. Welcome back. We've been talking about The Riverman. It's a novel about 19th century logging in Michigan.
Yeah, and we've been uncovering some pretty insightful business lessons. It's fascinating how a story from so long ago can still be so relevant today.
It really is. We've seen how Jack Ord, our protagonist, navigates all these challenges. Building a business, dealing with difficult personalities, and staying true to his values, even when things get tough.
Exactly. And now that we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's like one key takeaway you would want our listeners to really remember? Especially, as they navigate their own mid-career journeys.
Well, for me, it's the power of long-term thinking.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah, remember Orday's decision to invest in timberland in California?
Yeah, while he was building his logging business in Michigan.
Right, it just shows his ability to see beyond the immediate challenges and plan for the future.
It was a risky move, but it ended up giving him exactly what he needed to get through a major crisis. It seems like that kind of foresight is even more important today. I mean, everything's changing so fast.
Absolutely. The business world is evolving at an incredible pace. Those who can anticipate the changes and adapt quickly, they will definitely have an advantage.
It's about having that, what do you call it, entrepreneurial mindset.
Right, and not just about starting your own business, but in how you approach your career.
Taking ownership of your professional growth, always learning new things, and, being willing to take some risks, calculated risks, of course.
Exactly. Calculated risks are key. It's also about building a strong foundation, one that's based on doing good work, working hard, and being a person of integrity.
Those principles are timeless. They're always going to be relevant.
They are, and Orta's story is a great example of that. He went through some really difficult situations, but he always managed to come out on top.
Yeah, he stayed true to himself, and he found a way to succeed without compromising his values.
And that's inspiring. It's a good reminder that success isn't just about climbing the corporate ladder or making a lot of money. It's about finding work that's meaningful to you, work that aligns with your values, and work that makes a positive impact.
Absolutely. And I think that really resonates with the mission of the FBS podcast.
It does, right. We're here to help mid-career professionals like you find fulfillment in their work and in their lives.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Riverman, what's something you want our listeners to really think about?
Think about your own journey, where you are now and where you want to go. What are your goals, your aspirations? And most importantly, what steps can you take today to build a career that you can be proud of? A career that's both successful and meaningful.
That's a great question to ponder. And on that note, thanks for joining us on the FBS podcast. We'll be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, keep learning and keep growing.